The member for Melton.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and I rise today to speak on the Land Revocation and Reservations Bill 2023. And I should say that I'm pleased that the member for Narrackan had a great time at the AFLW Awards during the week, and good effort on that. But this bill's a fairly dry bill, and I didn't hear the lead speaker from the opposition, but obviously he dragged it out over 27 minutes and couldn't complete the 30, but got it to 27. And someone said if he'd spoken to it a bit quicker, then he might have done it in 15 minutes. But anyway, here we go. I want to acknowledge the work of the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Change, which is, who did quite a substantial amount of consultation with the relevant traditional owners groups and clearly the Department of Transport and Planning. And I want to acknowledge the great work of the Minister and her staff in hitting the ground running with this bill. Clearly, approximately 1/3 of Victoria is Crown land, and about 7% of this land, 550,000 hectares, and I think the member for Mordialloc raised the issue of 550,000 hectares of this Crown land is Crown land reserves. And of course, a Crown land reserve is land that is set aside for public use purposes such as educational or recreational activity. Place like public schools or TAFE colleges, universities, public hospitals, and clearly public parks and recreational reserves, such as been alluded to in previous contributions, like local football grounds. And of course, we know how important our educational and recreational facilities are to this state and to this country. And of course, I'm pleased to be part of a government that is delivering on educational facilities right across the state. And I know in my electorate, with the amount of new schools since I've been in office over the last 5 years, the number of new schools that have been built and opened is just amazing to keep up with the growth of our population within the Melton electorate. Of course, this bill will repeal permanent reservations at 13 locations throughout Victoria, as well as repealing restricted Crown grants at 6 sites. And additionally, the bill will abolish Part 4 of the Land Reservations and Other Matters Act 1999, which is associated with these reservations. This is really quite a narrow bill, quite technical. It's only 41 pages. 9 of the 11 parts in the bill are outlining the revocation of the specific reservations. The legislation is designed to enable new management frameworks for future utilisation of these parcels of land and the development of the specified land areas. Prospective land uses could include ongoing use by the current occupants, potential sale and development, or may involve re-reservation in certain instances. Of course, I'd just like to remind everyone that the sale of Crown land in Victoria is subject to various legislative and policy requirements set by the Victorian Government, and that any sale process must adhere to obligations outlined in the Native Title Act 1993, and of course relevant agreements established under the Traditional Owners Settlement Act of 2010. Of course, the cancellation of the enduring reservations will allow the sites to be redesignated for alternative purposes, supporting suitable management plans or facilitating the sale of the land for future utilisation and development. And of course, additionally, it will help regularise the land's use by current occupants following or allowing them to get on with their businesses and organisations with some level of stability and assurity for their future. 10 out of the 13 revocation proposals outlined in this bill pertain to potential sale of Crown land if this bill is passed. And in 3 instances, this involves associated restricted Crown grants. In the 3 revocations proposed in the bill, the sale of the land is expressly not contemplated. So for a long time, government departments have been proposing the sale of certain sites for several years, and in the case of Walhalla, which has been mentioned in many contributions, the proposal involves revoking specific parts of the reserve to potentially sell them to current occupiers and to the people who are already using that site. And the progress of these revocations is based on this basis. I have been to Walhalla many, many years ago. It's quite an amazing place. I would love to travel back there, but I just haven't had time in recent years. But I do remember it well, and we did spend some great time there, and it's quite an interesting place to travel to. I'm going to raise the issue of Mechanics Institute, and I just wanted to let the House know that the important role that the Mechanics Institute played in the Melton electorate or the Melton community. And the Melton Mechanics Institute was opened in 1868. I wasn't around then, but some might think I was. But with the purpose of it was providing working people means to acquire knowledge in diverse subjects by means of comprehensive library and organised series of lectures. And while it might have become more of a, or alluded to more of a social function centre than a library, it was ensuring that educational opportunities were available to everyone who wanted them, which is still the cornerstone of this government's identity. And I've got to say, Melton now has a fantastic new library that's probably about 3 or 4 years old, maybe a bit older, 5 years old. But it is an amazing library that the whole community uses, and it's great to go in there and see the diversity of who is utilising that library now, and it's money well spent within the local community to provide those types of facilities and services for our local community. I also want to mention TAFE and TAFE facilities. And the good thing about TAFE is that, well, firstly, this government's providing free TAFE courses, and I think it's in excess of 70 free TAFE courses, so it allows people to go on and get that higher education or do some course that will assist them with future employment. And I think that's fantastic. But we know how TAFE plays a really important role in our communities right across Victoria and across the country. And it's great to see that it's been announced that Melton will have a new TAFE facility operational by no later than 2028, and the providers of the TAFE education within Melton has now been awarded to Bendigo Kangan Institute, and I'm meeting with them within the next week to talk about what they intend to do in regard to the TAFE provision in Melton, and we look forward to having a good working relationship with them and them delivering TAFE for the Melton community. And initially we'll start with, I think, 600 construction courses, or not courses but positions for construction training, which is important, as we know, with all the infrastructure bill that's going on around the state. And how important it is to continue to provide that level of training for people in the construction industry, and that's across the construction industry, not dedicated to one thing like carpentry or whatever. It's right across, and we need them as we've got the big build and other big plans for housing and infrastructure going ahead over the next few years. Of course, in Melton we've got around about 30 schools in our electorate, and still growing, and each year we're building more schools. Another school, a primary school at Binat Primary School, which is in Brookfield. I was out there a few weeks ago with the principal, Jean Bentley. That opens up next year from the start of 2024, and then we've got another school coming in 2025 at Weir Views, and we're hopeful that a new secondary school will be built for the start of the 2026 school year. So there's a lot happening out in our area, and of course, as I say, a lot of this Crown land has been utilised for, as I alluded to earlier, recreational and educational facilities, and this government is delivering on educational facilities for all of our communities. This is a really important bill, and I commend it to the House.